Before I get into the substance of today's event, I just want to acknowledge with all free-thinking peoples around the world to add my condemnation to the unlawful actions of the government of Russia in taking away the liberties and threatening the lives of the people of Ukraine. I stand with all British Columbians and indeed all Canadians condemning that activity and hoping that Mr. Putin will see the error of his ways and the wrath of the international community will be sufficient for him to turn back on this horrific course that he is on. My thoughts are with Ukrainian peoples today and days going forward, and our government stands ready to work with the federal government to impose whatever sanctions are required and to take whatever steps we can as British Columbians to help the international community condemn these horrific actions. And with that, I'd like to move to the substance of today's announcement, which was the appointment of two ministers. I've appointed Josie Osborne to be the first Minister of Land, Water, Natural Resource Stewardship, and the Minister responsible for Fisheries. Minister Osborne has been an important voice at the Cabinet table, and her local government experience, combined with her professional life as a biologist and a master's degree in natural resource management, make her the ideal candidate to take on this first ever position as a minister responsible for natural resources and fisheries. Salmon are fundamental to who we are as British Columbians, and having all of the fisheries components that were spread over multiple ministries now housed in one place give Minister Osborne and her Parliamentary Secretary Finn Donnelly the opportunity to make sure that British Columbians are working collaboratively with Indigenous peoples as well as the federal government to protect this precious resource now and going forward. I'd also add that Josie comes from Tofino, which is a place that has been the center of many land use discussions. The Clayoquot Sound decision some 30 years ago. Keith Baldry's here. How many years ago was that? A long time ago. Puts her in a good position to understand the consequences of land use planning. And the fundamental part of being British Columbians with our abundant natural resources is ensuring that we're stewarding those effectively, not just for this generation, but for generations to come. And for too long, the development of our natural resources have not focused on the people who own them, British Columbians. I want to make sure Minister Osborne will be working collaboratively with other ministers, particularly the Minister of Forests, now a standalone ministry once again, as it had been historically in British Columbia, not to just focus on harvesting values, but all of the other values that forests represent to the people of British Columbia. So I know that Minister Osborne is looking forward to this task, and she'll be available to talk to you about how we're going to ensure that First Nations, communities, investors, and working people are part and parcel of the land use decisions we make going forward. I've now also appointed Nathan Cullen to be the Minister for Municipal Affairs. And I have known Nathan for almost 20 years. He served 15 years as a Member of Parliament in one of the vastest constituencies in Canada, from just outside of Vanderhoof all the way to Haida Gwaii and then up to Atlan, British Columbia, and the Yukon border. He's also been, of course, at our table working with the professional public service to put in place the foundations for the ministry that we're announcing today. I want to thank Nathan very much for that work and of course, thank him and acknowledge that his skill set coming to this new ministry, coming to this new position as Minister responsible for Municipal Affairs is absolutely critical to how we move forward with respect to climate change and, of course, coming out of the pandemic. Nathan is a superior communicator, which means that, in my mind, he listens, he synthesizes complex issues, and he's able to communicate those back in a way that the public can understand. So I'm very much looking forward to the work that he'll be doing with regional governments, municipal governments, Indigenous governments, to ensure that the province of British Columbia, the government that I have the honour of running and overseeing, is focused on making sure that the needs of municipal governments, the needs of local government, are being heard at our Cabinet table, and steps are being taken to meet the extraordinary challenges that that level of government is focused on each and every day. We will know, of course, that the new standalone Ministry of Forests, which will continue to be overseen by Minister Katrine Conroy, will also have new responsibilities for wildfires. This is no longer a prospective job. It's going to be one that involves wildfire service 24/7, 12 months of the year. And I came to this conclusion, I want to say, just before I open up the floor to questions, touring the province after the wildfire season began in British Columbia last early July. And I was in Lillooet, and I met a group of wildfire personnel who had been fighting fires in the region for a number of days. I sat down and talked with them, and two of them in particular had their homes were in Lytton. Their homes were gone, but yet they were still out fighting fires in other people's communities, making sure that they were doing everything they can to protect their neighbors. And that sacrifice is profound, and it stretches not just to those who lost their homes in Lytton, but right across British Columbia. The Bc Wildfire Service has been stretched to the max over the past number of seasons, and it's high time that the government focused on fire prevention and fire-smart activities. And it was two firefighters, they're called the Rattlers, from Lytton, who instilled in me the imperative of making sure that we're working on preventing fires starting in January 1st and working right through to December 31st, responding when the fires emerge, but building fire-smart communities like Logan Lake so we can protect people and protect property. This is an enormous change in my mind, and Minister Conroy and her team are ready to take it on. By breaking up the former ministry into two digestible parts, it will allow the professional public service to ensure that timely decisions are made and we're meeting the needs of British Columbians going forward. This is an exciting time. I've been thinking about this particular separation for some time now, many years in fact, not just as my time as Premier, but as a member of the opposition. I felt it was important to give the tools to communities one-stop shopping to make sure we're making the best decisions possible on land use. And I know Minister Osborne is going to take that on. And I know Minister Cullen will be right at her side working with communities to make sure that this is a seamless transition as we go forward. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Lindsay will manage that.